I'm John Rodgers from Cuyahoga Falls, and today we're going to do one called Around Home, Greater Akron Area. Perhaps you have seen my show called Beautiful Ohio, and since I live in Summit County, I deliberately left it out of Beautiful Ohio, and that's what we're going to be covering today. Most of the stuff will be in Summit County, and we will hop over into Kent. Now we're going to start with a few pictures of Akron, and then we'll hopscotch around the county, coming back into the city numerous times. Population of Akron is 223,000. And I'm doing something that I like to do, and these guys are all in this area. I am using animals and flowers to change subjects, and that's what you will see as we go along. And pretty quick you ought to be seeing a little squirrel coming up, a gray squirrel in my backyard. So that means we're going to change, and we're going to go down to Barberton. Barberton's population is 28,000. This is the Indian statue on Worcester Road. This is Hopicon, and he was a Delaware Indian. Beautiful statue, good placement, and they have a nice little park around it at this point. And here's a close-up of the top of the statue, the face and everything. Very well done. And then we will go on that same Worcester Road on down and cut off to the west and get to Lake Anna. Lake Anna is a 10-acre lake. It has a memorial at the western end, that one, where you can see the beautiful flowers there. And it has a gazebo at the eastern end. Now, when I go down here quite a bit because I do quite a few shows at the Barberton Library. But when I went down to get pictures, I got there for the end of the Chrysanthemum Festival. And that is principally what you will see here at Lake Anna. But things are going on all year round, and they really decorate this place up at Christmas time. But today it's chrysanthemums. Beautiful chrysanthemums, lots of chrysanthemums. And then little guys like this, made up of all kinds of things, straw and every other kind of decoration, making them up. You can see Lake Anna in the background. And in the background of this picture on the far shore, you see that memorial again. Changing subjects. This is a hawk on a branch in my backyard, as a matter of fact. And we're going in and look at Cuyahoga Falls, which is my hometown, with a population of, we're just under 50,000. This is an old picture. This is the Coppercause, the Great Falls of the Cuyahoga River. This is underwater, the reservoir there by the old Ohio Edison plant covers all these beautiful cascades. But I'm keeping you down fairly close to that. I am out on the Prospect Street viewing platform off of Front Street, and I'm looking upstream. And that is the Broad Avenue Bridge. It might be out of your picture, but you can see the falls, and you can see, yes, that is snow, icicles, it's wintertime. And looking the other direction, south from there, then you see the beautiful icicles coming off the cliffs there towards the expressway. Moving on into the town, this picture shows the clock tower, the Pilgrim Church, which was a very old congregational church, and just to be sure you know what I'm talking about, this is the Vaughn Mansion here. Those are three landmarks there. Of course, the clock tower is fairly recent, but everything else, those other two buildings are quite old. And this is the Vaughan Mansion. My family, when we first moved out here in the 50s, we lived in this half of that Vaughan Mansion. And you can see the spire of the Pilgrim Church right next to it. It's office buildings. I think an architect owns it. And I'm standing across from the Pilgrim Church now, taking a nice shot in the wintertime. Clock Tower, 1995. And this is the downtown area. All that area was under construction, and it's going to be dedicated pretty quickly now. Maybe it already has. I don't keep up with things like that. This is on 3rd Street, and that's where you can go to see some of the older homes in the area. Unfortunately, you can't see this one anymore. It has been torn down. This is the Charlie Boyd home. Charlie was the dance instructor that everybody in the Falls knew. And this particular one is still on 3rd Street, 2230 3rd Street, and this one is 2236 3rd Street. And I'm just showing you Cuyahoga Falls as sort of a typical town around the area, and I know something about it, and I wanted to show you a few churches. And this is St. Joseph's Catholic Church, and this is St. John's Episcopal Church, and then here is the Methodist Church right next to St. John's Episcopal, and then taking you into the Oakwood Cemetery, the old chapel there. If you want a place where you can see a display of rhododendron in the spring, Oakwood Cemetery is the place to go. It is really something. Now, I wanted to show you a barn, and then when we had the Ohio Bicentennial painting of barns, I took this picture, and this Summit County Bicentennial barn is north on Route 8, just beyond that big intersection on Graham Road, just beyond that. But it is only visible when you're going north. So that's Summit County's Bicentennial barn. Now this is taken from my backyard because our property goes right down in the Cuyahoga River. But this is one of the pontoon boats, because you can take a little tour on pontoon boats and come up from the dam by Portage Trail and come all the way up towards Waterworks Park. And looking across the way, that is Silver Lake, South Park Drive it is. And I wanted to show you an example of one of the museums in the area, the little museums. And this one I know a lot about because I work here on Mondays, not all the time, but sometimes. And so it is on Hudson Drive, and they have collected, these ladies really run it, and they have collected all kinds of things, and I'm just taking you through it. That is Liz Cross. She's slightly out of focus, that's sort of intentional, but she is the curator of it, and they really have done quite a job. And they can find things. When you go in to ask about things, they can really find them. They have all kinds of photography, they have objects, and people continually bring them things because they are handled with care and with appreciation. And they do a good job on the police department and the fire department, as well as the schools. A lot of memorabilia about the schools. Now my little raccoon, who I photographed looking in our kitchen window one time, is telling us we're going to change. And we're going back into Akron now because we're going to Stan Hewitt Hall and Gardens. And this is the gatehouse. And if you look very closely, you will see one little yellow tulip in amongst all the red ones. And that is the gatehouse. And that gatehouse is one of the shrines of Alcoholics Anonymous, because that's where Mrs. Seiberling, that is the mother of our former congressman, she introduced the two men who later formed Alcoholics Anonymous, and she introduced them in the gatehouse where she was living. Frank and Gertrude Seiberling started this, built this, and they moved in 1915. If you are not aware of it, he is the one who started Goodyear and later the Seiberling Rubber Company. It's a 65-room Tudor revival, and many people miss this gargoyle, which is up on the tower. And so I like this picture that has the good background where you can really see it. And then we move into the breakfast garden area. The breakfast room is right here, and this is the garden area of the breakfast room right out here. Now moving inside, you are not normally allowed to take pictures inside, but I have a few. This is the dining room, and some of mine are kind of dark. And this is the great hall from up looking at it from on the second floor. And the view to the west vista is out of that door. And this is the west vista out this way going on into West Akron. This is Virginia's room. This is up on the second floor. This is Louis XVI room, but it normally is called Virginia's room. I'm sorry, that was part of the music room. This is Virginia's room here, the Louis XVI. Yes, that's on the second floor. The other one was on the first floor, and here is the rest of the music room here. We've moved outside now, and we're going to stay out there and look at the roof line of this magnificent thing. And that's up on the tower. And I have a few pictures because I've been on the roof of the tower. And this one looks down into the west side pool from the ellipse. And where I showed you from inside the west vista, this is it right here. And at the end of the Birch Alley are these tea houses. There are a couple of them there. I'm only showing you the one so you can really see it. And I just stepped to the side of it, and I'm looking at one of the west vistas on out towards the National Park. That last ridge there would be in the National Park. But then I don't want you to miss the Birch Alley itself. This is the Birch Alley from up by the house looking out towards the tea house. And this is in early spring, and the leaves are not back on the birches yet. And then from out in what was the cutting gardens, they have had to do a lot of work, so a lot of things have changed, especially in the garden area, because they were having drainage problems in the house. But this is the manor house. And this is Chinese magnolia on the left here, looking at the entrance to the great Stan Hewitt. And now we got another creature from my backyard, a little chipmunk, and that means we're changing again, and we're going to be talking about the Portage Path. Now this is a map of Akron, and this line here, and I have put it in green, that is the portage path. This is the towpath trail following the canal over here. The portage path is over to the west of it. This is the area, it's called Merriman Valley now, but it used to be called Old Portage. So there is a statue that I'll call your attention to there, and there's one down here across from Young's Hotel, right by the Tuscarawas River. So let's look at the portage path first. And it's 8 miles long, and the north end is Merriman Road and Portage Path, and it's marked with this old plaque on a boulder there. And this has been around for quite a while, and it is still there. And the new statue is this one, an Indian portaging a canoe. Look at the beautiful sycamores in the back. You can see that beautiful white bark when the leaves are not on them. And right by there you can see, well, here's a close-up of the Indian himself with a necklace and so forth. He's going to hold that canoe for a long time. And very close to him are these very large arrowheads. And these arrowheads are used, I don't know how many they are, but there are quite a few. They're marked to portage all the way over to the Tuscarawas River. And as you go along the portage, you go along right by Perkins Mansion. We'll be coming back to Perkins Mansion later in the program. And I had this old pre-cleaning marker there on the wall of the Perkins Mansion, and this shows that this was the western boundary of the United States that you're walking along. And then moving on down through there to south end is a duplicate statue at the Tuscarawas River. That's the Tuscarawas River right back over here. And this is Manchester Road, and to my back is Young's Hotel. And this marker is also down there indicating that is the end of what is known as the portage. And we're changing this time with a flower. This grows along the Cuyahoga River. I photographed this from my canoe down on one of the islands in Waterworks Park. It's cardinal flower. And now we're going into the Ohio and Erie Canal and the towpath trail. So it goes through the national park to Merriman Valley and then on to Memorial Parkway. Some of the geese that are flying, many of these pictures will be from the winter time. Here is again, I called your attention to sycamores and their beautiful white bark against the winter sky. And this is a golf course in the background that you see there. Nice, easy trail, but remember, bicycles use it too, so you have to be careful. You're supposed to stay over to the right. And the Cuyahoga River flows right alongside of it here. Here is the summit of it, and when it was coming, this is Lake Erie here, and it had to raise up to the summit, which is right in the Akron area, and that's where Summit County got its name. Here's a good picture of one of the towboats here, and then this is more or less the road as it goes. But when you reach the summit, you know, in this area right here will be Mustel's store and so forth, because that's where the stair steps went to go. The canal went all the way from Cleveland down to Portsmouth on the Ohio River. The towpath isn't expected to go that far, at least not at this point. It will go down, it will go from Cleveland all the way down to the New Philadelphia area. And here is a towboat. This is one of the pictures, and you can take some of these right along the canal. Here's one of the towboats, and we'll go in here, and that is the lock. And here's the old picture of Mustel's store. And this is what it looks like. This is what it looked like when I first came out to the area. And this is what it looks like today. It has been redone supposedly back to what it was before. This is the towpath trail right in front of it. And then on that same property, back off to the left out of the other picture, is the lock tender's house. And then lock 15, this one, is right by the store, right across the towpath from the store. And then going across North Street, just out there, here is a drawing of what they think it looked like going up that series of steps to get up to the summit of the entire canal. You can see one of the Akron churches in an area called the Gore at that time. And here's a lock, and here's a lock, and here's a lock, and there's another one up there. And this is why Mustel's store became so popular. You could get off the packet boat that you were on, and you didn't have to get back on it until they were up and ready to move on ahead. So you had several canals that your boat had to go to while you could walk around. And here is that area of the stair steps, right across North Street from Mustel's store. Another picture of the stair steps. And down in Akron, this is Lock 2 Park. And we're going to change subjects now. So I have a jack in the pulpit in here. I've told audiences, see, right in there is the jack that's in the pulpit. And I've told many people that this thing really should be called a Jane in the pulpit, because that is the female part of the flower, and that's what becomes this with all the beautiful seed in the fall. So it really ought to be called a Jane in the pulpit. But that wasn't my subject. Up on Bath Road, the great blue herons, in late February and especially in March and April, you can go up there and see them. I didn't count the nests this year. The last time I counted it was just a little bit over 100 nests. This is a bird that is 46 inches tall. It has a 72-inch wingspan, and it weighs a little less than 5.5 pounds. And you can see them right, you can pull off the road, there's a parking place, and you can see these sights right on Bath Road. A beautiful sight and a wonderful thing to see. Bringing in a few more sticks for the nest, and they just keep on building. Big bird, big bird. Okay, now we will be changing, and I have a little white-footed mouse for you to look at, looking up at you out of the leaves. That little guy inhabited the drop ceiling in our basement at one time, and I released him all the way down in Waterworks Park in Cuyahoga Falls. Now I do a show called Beautiful Valley. But I didn't want to go away from this without showing you just a little bit about the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, which is also the subject of a longer show called Beautiful Valley. 33,000 acres on and around this river, the Cuyahoga River, in Summit and Cuyahoga counties. It's 22 miles north to south. Features the river and this one, Brandywine Falls. This is a beautiful waterfall anywhere. The Ledges Trail is in there for you. There are beautiful icicles in the wintertime that hang down from there. And a lot of people have not been into this area. This is behind the Boston ski resort area, and this is Blue Hen Falls. Beautiful, it's a little fall, but it's really quite beautiful. And not too many people go like I did out on the Route 82 bridge to look north. See, here's the river here. Here's the trail is running here, and the canal runs there. This is water coming in from a dam to supply the canal. And then if you go on up and make a right turn, well, that's the only way you'll go, you're in the area called Pinery Narrows. And some of the things in there are really beautiful. Beautiful yellow iris. Now this will not be a wonderful picture, but that is a beaver in the Beaver Marsh. The Beaver Marsh has a boardwalk on the towpath trail that becomes it. Here are deer up at Boston, and they're, in this particular winter, several winters ago, they were frantic to try and find food to eat, and that meant pushing the snow aside. These golden lady slippers, and this is the native orchid. These were found by me just north of Peninsula. And here is the covered bridge. This is over Furnace Run. Very easy to get to. You can't drive through it now, but there's a nice parking area and you can walk back to it. And then we're going to use our pussycat, Puka. Puka is a Maine Coon cat, and she is ours. We are hers, I'm not sure which. And she is the change into the Perkins Mansion. Perkins Mansion, 1837, Colonel Simon Perkins. Now, Colonel Simon Perkins was a son of Akron's founders, General Simon Perkins. It's 14 rooms, Greek Revival. And I'm showing you over to the Brown House now. The Brown House is directly, diagonally across from the Perkins Mansion. Perkins Mansion is on Portage Path, and you can look right on across Copley Road to see the Brown House. The Perkins family lived here for more than 100 years, and this is part of the Summit County Historical. And John Brown's part here, John Brown lived here only 2 years in that house, and his tie to Perkins was not abolitionist, it was sheep and wool. And this is called the Stone Mansion. Quite a bit of difference between wintertime and summertime, isn't it? Well, it's really a neat place, and this is very historic. This is where you gather a lot of the history. And I told you about this sign when we were doing Portage Path, and this is the way it got cleaned up, and you can actually read it now. And this was the western boundary of the United States in 1785. I understand that this cypress tree, which is a very southern tree, had took a hit with lightning and has got some problems, but it's just wonderful that a cypress tree can grow here in the Akron area, a southern cypress. Now, going inside the mansion, I'm looking from up on the staircase down into the front entrance. This is the front entrance here. And then here's the parlor on the first floor. You see it was decorated for Christmas. And then right across the hall is the library. And then the dining room. And they were doing quite a bit about Civil War stuff, and as a consequence, they had the flag flying here. That's not a Civil War flag, but anyhow. And then here's the kitchen. And into the first floor bedroom. There's one bedroom on the first floor. And then we're going upstairs to see just a couple of things. This is the second floor pineapple bedroom. Now, I guess that's all we're going to see on the second floor, because we come back down to the parlor. And then one last one of the mansion itself. And then we ought to have some little mallards. Those are little mallard ducks on the Cuyahoga River, right in the middle of your screen. And we'll go out to Talmadge. I only have two pictures in the Talmadge area, and both of them are of the church on the circle. It was built in 1825. Wonderful place, the Congregational. And then going into my backyard again, whoops, I'm sorry, I had another picture of the church. And then going into my backyard is this little possum. This possum is a marsupial. She has a pouch where she carries her young, just like a kangaroo. And this tail that she has there is what's called prehensile. In other words, she can control that tail, and she can put it across her back, and her little ones can hang on to it when she's moving them from one place to another. They've been around for a long time, those possums. Going down into the Portage Lakes area, this is Young's Hotel, and it's on Nesmith Lake at the northern part of the lakes. And the Portaging Indian statue is across from that hotel right at the Tuscarawas River. A few swans down there from time to time. I think let's say he's got a bill. I think that's a mute, but I'm not sure. And then I just went around to give you a little look at the water resources and the way people have put their houses, and really it's a neat place down through there. And then here's one of the restaurants with the old lighthouse, and then the clock tower. This is relatively new, the clock tower. And then back over in this area is what's called the Iron Channel. That picture and that picture are the Iron Channel. And here is the Tuscarawas River. This was the end of the portage, going from the Cuyahoga to the Tusk. And then with one more of the lake area. Somebody's really done a magnificent job there. Then we'll go into a little raccoon. Unfortunately, this tree is gone now. It died. It was an oak tree. And there was a mother coon that would come, and she had young in this tree for about 5 years. And this was one of the little ones leaning back, taking it easy. But I want to do a special thing, not of a place, but of the seasons, because that's one of the attractions of Northeast Ohio. So my designation for springtime comes when I see the skunk cabbage up about this high. But if you're not into the wild things, how about a bunch of tulips? That should tell you that it's spring. Summer, the Cuyahoga River, and that's my canoe down in it, and out at Silver Lake. Look, all that dark green foliage. That's summertime. Moving into autumn, quite often when I illustrate autumn, I will use red apples, but I decided to use green ones this time. But here's some red with the dogwood berries. Boy, look at that blue sky with that. And then, because it's autumn, I took the liberty of using 3 of autumn leaves. I always illustrate autumn more extensively because of the leaf coloring than I do the other seasons. Just really great stuff. Now come on, shiver a little bit with me, and here is winter. This is from that Portage, from the Prospect Street platform again. And then ice crystals on leaves and berries. And Burr Rabbit is out on our front lawn as we make our move over to the Hale Farm and Western Reserve Village. I do some of this in the Beautiful Valley show also. This is the area where the village is. This is, you can see the church there. This is the goldsmith house. The potter works right in here, and this is his stuff, his or her. This is the goldsmith house. That's the outside, and I'll take you into a couple of places inside. This is the parlor. And this is the dining room. And then moving on, this house is the, not the little one here. This is a lawyer's office here. But this house over here is the latest one. That's the one that they had to mark all of the stone when they brought it up. They couldn't bring it in big pieces. It had to be marked and then put back together. So that's the latest house. And this is the potter working the clay with the wheel there. And you saw the church once, but here is a view of it alone from the outside. And then on the inside, and it was Christmas time too. That's why you're seeing all the wreaths there. And then the homestead, the outside. And long before they ever did the renovation of it, and that renovation I think is complete now, but I got this picture inside with a fire going in the fireplace. Also at Hale Farm and Village, in the summertime, quite often you will find a reenactment of a battle complete with the camping area. And the camping area will be in that same area over by the Goldsmith House and the church. And here is one of them here. And then there will be drilling and so forth, and firing a cannon out on the field across from where the village is. This is the field north of the homestead where they are. And now we're going to stay up there, so I don't have a change with my, oops, I do have a change. I forgot that I have a butterfly in here. Maybe I should write that down, and we're going to go to Blossom Music Center. Blossom Music Center is the summer home of the Cleveland Orchestra. These are earlier pictures, and it has since been renovated. But notice all the people on the lawn, picnics and all kinds of things. It has 800 acres of woodland within the boundaries of the national park. A lot of people out there to listen. 5,000 can be seated with an additional 13,500 on the lawn area. And here's one of the times we were there, and the Boston Pops was playing that night. And quite often, if you're in the around the 4th of July and Memorial Day and so forth, you will see a very, very good display of fireworks. Okay, now we're going to use a hummingbird. hummingbird in my bergamot to change subjects here. And I wanted to show you just an example of a parade, because you see a number of parades in this area. This one is the Cuyahoga Falls Memorial Day Parade. And if you want to see the 4th of July parade, there will be one in Stowe. But this is coming towards us, and it's going into Oakwood Cemetery. And as a matter of fact, the flag is being turned into Oakwood Cemetery right in this picture. And this is where the different dignitaries talk and so forth. And then finally, the bugler blows taps over the graves, each one marked with an American flag. And here is one from all the way back in the Civil War. They found it and they put up this memorial. And the bugler there right in the middle of the picture is blowing taps. Now he is probably blowing the echo of taps. And we're going to change subjects again, and you are looking right down into a nest of little bluebirds. All those they look blackish, and you can see some yellow, and the yellow will be the beaks and so forth, and that's a nest of bluebirds. We're going to talk about the Metro Park serving Summit County. We're going to look at just 4 of them. There are a lot more than that, but I just wanted to show you some of them. Cascade Metro Park, that's what you're looking at now. This is out to the west, beyond Gorge Metro Park, which is between Cuyahoga Falls and Akron. And this is the oxbow. This is one of the oxbows that's turning here. The part that includes the signal tree is called the chuckery, and the part that you're looking at right here is called the oxbow, which is the northern part. And this is the Cuyahoga River. And here's the signal tree. Now the signal tree had a problem with one of our storms, and it lost one of those beautiful branches. But as far as I know, it's still in pretty good shape. And it is a bur oak, which is a very special oak. Now it's not right on Portage Pass, so they still think it was a signal tree, but I'm not sure exactly what the signal was for. Anyhow, I have you up within the national park now, but it is a metro park. It's Deep Lock and Quarry. This is the Deep Lock part of it. This is supposed to be the deepest lock on the entire Ohio and Erie Canal. But it is within boundaries of the national park. And this is the quarry. Now the quarry, since its operation started after the canal was complete, no stone from this quarry was used in the canal locks. One of the principal stones that came out of here is grindstones for handling grain. And a number of those round grindstones were shipped over into Europe. And it would be interesting if you could follow and find one over there that came from Summit County. I'm not sure you could, but anyhow. So that's his Deep Lock and Quarry. Now, sort of a central pulling together place is called Nature Realm. It's on Smith Road. It's about 100 acres. It's a real nice nature center. There's a 16-acre arboretum with about 300 varieties and trees and shrubs. But I wanted to take you inside and show you the inside exhibits in the nature center. And you're seeing one of them there. And here's little beaver working out. Now these are obviously stuffed, but these are not. These are real live honeybees that they have set up so that they can come in, and you're not much danger of getting stung. And then you can sit down, and this is one-way glass, and the birds coming in outside, unfortunately, there were none there when I was there, you can watch them and identify them, and you know, it's a great place. It's a real great place. And the last of the metro parks that I wanted to show you, and I'm showing you this because of its history. This is Gorge Metro Park. This is right on the Cuyahoga River, flowing between Cuyahoga Falls and Akron, and what you're looking at is the Mary Campbell Cave, what we used to call the Old Maid's Kitchen. Mary Campbell was held by an Indian chief here, and some of the time she was in this cave. Now this isn't a cavern that you go back into and go along passageways. This is just a tremendous rock overhang that would protect you from the weather. Very easy to get to, almost a flat trail from the parking lot just off of Front Street in Cuyahoga Falls. Very close to the Ohio Edison, both the plant and the dam. You pass by the dam on this trail to get to it. And you see the rock. Now this is on the Cuyahoga Falls side. I've had you the whole time. But right across the way is Akron. And here is, I'm standing inside the Mary Campbell Cave at this point. You can see how massive it is. And hopefully you can see two people back there. And then we're going to move to another subject with my geese on the Cuyahoga River. This is taken from my backyard, and this is Silver Lake across the way. As far as I know, this guy is on 2 feet, this guy is on 2 feet, and all the rest across there, perfectly reflected in the Cuyahoga River, are standing on 1 foot. These are Canada geese. And we're going over to Kent now. I mentioned that was the place where we were going outside of Summit County. But here's a bed of flowers in the downtown that I thought was very, very nicely done. And then I want to take you along the Franklin Mills River Edge Park. And I'm more or less on a trail of that park now, but I'm looking over at the old railroad station. This is the old railroad station here, and this is the dam right here. Now the water, they're going to bring the water around that dam. The dam is still going to stand, but the water will go around it as part of the cleanup of the Cuyahoga, I guess you might say. Here's some of the elevators over here. This is train tracks over here. And this is the Franklin Mills River Edge Park Trail. And I have been standing on it during this time. And here is what I really wanted you to get into, and that is Brady's Leap. This was a leap made in 1780. Captain Brady, somewhere very close to this boulder. See across here? And he leaped 21 feet across the river when he was pursued by Indians. Now the Indians probably wanted to kill him, but they wanted revenge for his raids on their villages. So they had a good motive, but they did not catch Captain Brady, and his name is over there on Brady Lake and so forth. And then this is probably the leap. You can see the river down below here. Now the river is backed up somewhat by that dam, so the river wasn't that high when he leaped across. And I just like this picture as the Cuyahoga River in wintertime. Kent State University. That's the symbol on the water tank. They have about 32,000 students there. And as a visitor, one of the places you would go is into this building. This is the Fashion and Decorative Arts Museum. Now, I'm not going to show you anything inside. You can, they change it, but it's fashion and a lot of other things as well. And one of the main buildings there, I was working you over to this area. This is the May 4th Memorial from 1970. This was a Vietnam War protest in which 4 people were killed and 9 were wounded. And this is the memorial to it. I'm not much on this kind of artwork, but that's part of it. And then what I'm interested in is out in the Kent Bog. This is southwest of the town, but it's still called the Kent Bog. It's a state nature preserve. 12,000 years ago, when the glaciers were receding, a huge block of ice was buried by silt down here, and as it melted, it left a depression, what we call a kettle. And we know it as a kettle bog of about 50 acres with Canadian plants, including, this is sphagnum moss, and the tamaracks. Well, I guess I showed you the tamaracks before because I'm on to my Cecropia moth. Incidentally, on the tamaracks, that tree, the larch, there are 3,500 of them in that little bog. But we're going on to the Howell House now with the Cecropia moth as our changing point. The Howell House means we're back in Akron. The Howell family lived here for 102 years. It's owned by the University of Akron. It's a 28-room Victorian mansion designed in the Second Empire Italianate style. I'm not great on architecture, but that's the name. It was built in 1871 by John Henry Howell. He was an Akron industrialist in milling and reaping and cereals and so forth. Now, I've shown you several outside pictures, and I did get to go in. I couldn't go up to the second floor when I was there because they had a tour group up there. So everything I show you will be the first floor. The rail is kind of nice, and it gives you an idea, and everybody should go to the Howell House, I think. It's quite a nice place. And then I have a special thing for you when we get over to the kitchen. We're still in the dining room now, and now we'll go over and look at a kitchen stove. That little stove over there. After a long talk with Mrs. Howell, a former mayor of Akron, William Sawyer, went home and he wrote a poem. It was about this old kitchen stove that you're looking at, and it went on for about 26 verses. You're lucky. I'm only going to give you the first verse. And this is what he said. I love to look back to the days that are gone when living was simple and plain, and we rushed to the old kitchen stove to get warm when chilled by the frost and the rain. Now I have a strange way of changing to this next one. That is the leaves of a sassafras tree. And a sassafras tree is interesting. It has leaves that are a hole like this. It has them with 2 notches on them. It has them with 1 notch this way. And I don't see one on this tree right now that it has a notch the other way. So all of those are on the same tree. And this is the one, if you dig the roots of one of these trees, you can get some of the best tea. You can make some of the best tea that you would ever want. Now we're going into, I just wanted to show you that I do a lot of decorating in this area at Christmas time. And this is what you're seeing now. And yes, this is our house, and this is our decorations, and look at the snow on the ground. That's the whole scene. And then from inside that dining room window, I saw this one night and photographed it that way. Now we're going to go over to the Akron Zoological Park, and I'm using the moon, a good picture I took of the moon years ago, to make that transition. So the Akron Zoo, 25 acres in Perkins Woods, and it's getting bigger. It just got bigger. At the time I was putting this together, they had over 400 animals then. And here are the flamingos. You're familiar with those. You might not be familiar with this little guy. This is a road runner. This is a desert animal, and he is the one that they use for the beep, beep, beep commercials and so forth. But this little guy, he hardly ever flies, but he can, and he runs at about 20 to 25 miles an hour. He can't do that for too long, but he can go pretty good. Beautiful lioness there. And it's winter time, so I'm not going to see all the birds and everything. Here's the sun bear. And this old tiger was really tired. Never did wake up while I was there. But my favorite of the last trip I took over there was this guy. This is a red panda, and a real neat little animal. Now right by the red panda is this little waterfall, and I think in the upper part of that, where the water is coming from, I photographed this black swan. And then this guy makes quite a deal of everything. This is an otter, and he dumps in the water, and he jumps back out, and he dumps in the water, and he pulls there for me for about 5 seconds. You have to shoot fast when you're photographing those guys. And then it was appropriate, since it was winter time, that the penguins were out sunning themselves. We're going to make a move, and we're going to make it with one of the cultivated plants in the area. Well, I showed you some tulips back there a ways, and this is columbine. And we're going to look just for a moment at the University of Akron, where I'm on the campus, and you can see the St. Bernard's Church over there, which we will go in a moment. So you know the University of Akron is right downtown. Very close to downtown. And this is Mr. Buchtel. He established the Buckeye Moore and Reaper Company, as well as his part in the University of Akron. And here is the Polymer Center. And this man, I thought his statue should be included also. It deals with natural science, and this is Charles M. Knight, one of the professors who had been there. And then a couple of shots of the E.J. Thomas Hall, which is an integral part of the university. Now we're going up in the park again to see my little turkeys. Now I had to brake to let this mother bring her little turkeys across the road. You'll have to look close. I'll swing a loop around them, but she has 13. I counted 13 little turkeys with her, and here's the mother here, photographed up in the park, as we make our way over to Glendale Cemetery. This goes back to 1839. The groundbreaking on this memorial chapel was in 1875. It's a Civil War memorial, with the dedication 1 year later. Now, the cathedral glass windows came from Scotland, and the building was built by the GAR, the Grand Army of the Republic. And then going out into the cemetery, well, this is not going out, this is right by the chapel, some of the crypts where burials took place. And here's up in the cemetery. And I think the next one will show the, yeah, here's the top of the chapel over here. So I have gone up high above in there. Glendale Cemetery. And if you look closely, you should be able to see about 3 little turtles in the area. And this will be the last of my separators, because in order to show you some things, I'm going to run out of space. So we won't do too much in separating, but I wanted to show you the Goodyear blimps. This is landing and docking down at Suffield. That was so windy that day, this is the 3rd pass. He had to make 3 passes to get that thing down because of the wind. And there is where the customers go, and the pilot and everything. And then, since they're going to take it inside, they have to position it and lock it into this. And then they take it in, they back it in to the hangar. Now, all that took place at Suffield. And these are very recently, this year, when they were flying those 4, they had christened another one, and they were flying the 4 over the city of Akron. My pictures are taken from the hill right across from St. Thomas Hospital on Main Street. And then going back down to the, one more, and then going back down to Suffield again. This is the first time that I was ever able to photograph 2 blimps on the ground down at Suffield. This is, as far as I know, this is the Stars and Stripes, and this is the city of Akron. The Spirit of Akron, Spirit of Akron. And I mentioned we aren't going to have any more dividers, and we're going to be hopscotching around quite a bit. This is St. Bernard's Church in Akron. The church and the plaque about its position as a National Register of Historic Places, that it is in that. Towers, very prominent towers, and then going inside. Very interesting, and here is just one of the photographs of stained glass. Not too far from there is the church that I go to, which is the First Congregational Church in Akron. And this is the church, and here's inside at Christmas time a few years back, and all of these are poinsettias. Not this, all of these poinsettias. And then we have some stained glass too. We have quite a bit of stained glass. This is just one of the windows. And the church in wintertime. Going out to Stoll now. There's the Stoll sign, and those are the city buildings back behind there. And right close by this sign is the Doughboy Statue Memorial. I wish you could see his face, but I'm glad that you can see that flag fluttering out above him. That's really as important. Over at Copley, I wanted you to see what a little square looks like in some of these towns. This is the Copley Square as you get over to the old Cleveland-Massillon Road. And here's another picture with the little gazebo out in there. Coming back across the county now to Monroe Falls. This is a veterans memorial. These earth mounds, you can see one here, and there's one over there. There are 4 of them, I believe. And the earth mounds are the sacred mounds of the native people. And the pillars there represent major conflicts. That is the town hall right across from it. And if you go out to Route 91 and turn left or north, you would go up and see this park. And the river runs right down in through here. The dam is across here. This is on the hike and bike trail. The Goodyear Zeppelin Air Dock, 1929, 22 stories high. It's now Lockheed Martin. And while we're down there, you're very close to the All-American Soapbox Derby. You can see some of the stands there. And this is the hill. I'll show you a little better. This is the hill that they will come down for the Soapbox Derby. While we're out there, the Akron Fulton Airport. Oops, I'm sorry, I forgot I had a picture of the running. Now this is an old picture. They're probably a lot more streamlined by now, but I took that quite a few years ago. Then I liked those pictures that I had taken from the inner belt over the city, so I took one while I was out by Derby Downs. And then we'll go to the Akron Fulton Airport, which in its own right is somewhat historic. But right out in front of it, I was surprised to find a bust of Columbus right in front of the old Akron Fulton Airport. Then a property of the Summit County Historical Society, the old stone schoolhouse down on Broadway in Akron. That's the outside, and here's the inside. Over on the corner of Portage Path and West Market Street at that bank is the Indian statue called Unk, U-N-K. It was first done in 1905 and then renovated in 1970. It represents the Erie, Iroquois, Seneca, Shawnee, Ottawa, Delaware, Mingo, and that's why they don't try and identify a tribe with Unk. They just say he represents all of those, and he also represents the earlier mound builders. Lots of people use that portage, and Unk is right on that portage. Now, I just show you an outside shot of the Civic Theater. The renovation that they have been working on is now complete, as far as I know. And then I wanted to say a word about the Simon Perkins statue. This is where it used to be. The Simon Perkins, he was the one that founded Akron. It used to be in Grace Park. I got to admit, not too many people might have seen it over there. And they cleaned it and put it in this new location on Broadway. And I am sure that you can see part of this, the Akron U in the background, and I'm sure a lot more people see it today than saw it then. But it's always a little, you wonder, should we move this, should we not? But there's the statue today. While we're down in that area, Adventure Place. Now, I'm not taking you in Adventure Place, but it's a place you might want to go. We're going down by the courthouse and see the statue of Charles Goodyear, the discoverer of the vulcanization of rubber, and what was very important in this town. I like lion statues, and so you have one here at the courthouse. And then there's a doughboy statue, also at the courthouse. Moving a little bit, but not very far, to the Quaker Square area. You can see the old Quaker Square, and you can see part of the hotel in the back. This was where Ferdinand Schumacher started Quaker Oats, the renovated factory buildings of Quaker Oats Company. I'm not sure that he was the one that started it, but he was the one that really went gung-ho on oatmeal during the Civil War. It was the chief product here in the late 1800s all the way up till 1970. Besides all the shops that are in there, the hotel, which uses the silos for rooms, is now the Crown Plaza. The name has changed several times, but the silo is really, it makes an interesting room. Got quite a few comments from the people who stay there. Relatively new, just a few years in downtown, is Canal Park. This is where the Akron Arrows baseball team plays, and not too far from the downtown is the Akron Art Museum. Now, I don't take you inside. I'm out in the outside gallery called the Myers Sculpture Courtyard, and a view of downtown from there, and another view of downtown. Well, this is the theater itself, and you would go in here to. I didn't mean theater. I meant art museum. You would go in through there to see the artwork, and this is another view from the outside courtyard. And then back, I'm a retiree B.F. Goodrich. And this is the building that I retired from. This is the old Building 25, which is one of the old historic buildings around here. And if you went on a building right straight across from here is where Russ Colley designed and directed the construction of the first space suits for the Mercury astronauts, right here at B.F. Goodrich. Another church, Trinity Lutheran Church. Now, I don't take you inside this, but I wanted to take you down to the plaque that talks about Sojourner Truth. This plaque is at the old location of the Universalist Church on North High Street. In the year 1851, this black woman, almost 6 feet tall and a former slave, became known in the Akron, Ohio area for her "And Ain't I a Woman" speech. I could work as much and eat as much as a man when I could get it, and bear the lashes well, and ain't I a woman? And she spoke as much for woman's rights as for the abolition of slavery. Going on to the southern, oops, I'm sorry, I should have had Sojourner's picture on there. Her name was actually Isabella. And going on to the southern part of the city, the statue of Harvey Firestone is down by the research building for the old Firestone, or now Bridgestone Firestone, down there. And if you go along on the inner belt and look up in the direction of Glendale Cemetery, you might see a red building up there. And there are ways to get up there, as you can see, and this was the Louis Miller house. This is the, he was Buckeye, Moore, and Reaper, and his daughter, Mina, was Thomas Edison's second wife. And it's my understanding that they were married right in this house, or home. Not too far from there is the Oakdale Avenue woodland area of West Akron. This is the first residential neighborhood in Akron designated as a National Registry Historic District, and they included 42 properties in that designation. Now we're getting towards the end of this, but I wanted to show you just a couple of things, and I'm trying to move you on north where the last slide will be. This is still in that Oakdale Avenue woodland area here. But here is the Akron Women's City Club, and I believe I have it from two directions. Yes, there's the other direction. Very close by there is the Coach House Theater, this one, And some pretty good stuff there. We've seen some pretty good stuff there over the years. As we have, now I'm moving you north to the Weather Vane Playhouse. This is down in the Merriman Valley area, or the old Portage part. I don't have enough room to get you all the way, so I'm going to have to jump from this last one of the Weather Vane to wish you farewell and let you walk off into a beautiful sunset all the way up at Beaver Marsh. And that is the end of Around Home. Hope you enjoyed it.